Most people think red flags in relationships are stop signs, warning signals that scream, "Run for your life." But what if everything we've been taught about toxic relationships is backwards? Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful emperor in Roman history, had perhaps the most challenging marriage imaginable. His wife, Faustina, was rumored to be unfaithful, wasteful, and publicly embarrassing. Yet he wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Instead of letting his wife's behavior destroy him, Marcus used every difficult moment as practice for his Stoic principles. Each argument became a lesson in patience, each betrayal a masterclass in self-control. Modern relationship advice tells us to avoid difficult people, to run from conflict, to protect ourselves from anyone who might challenge us. But the Stoics understood something profound. Our greatest growth comes not from avoiding difficulty, but from learning to dance with it. Think about it this way: a muscle only grows when it faces resistance. Your character only strengthens when it faces challenges, and your wisdom only deepens when it's tested by real-world difficulties. The person who gaslights you is actually training you to trust your own judgment completely. The person who violates your boundaries is teaching you to defend them fiercely. The person who takes you for granted is showing you your own worth. But here's the crucial distinction. I'm not telling you to stay in abusive relationships. I'm not telling you to accept mistreatment. What I'm sharing is a radical reframe that transforms your pain into power, your struggles into strength. The Stoics called this the discipline of desire, not wanting things to be different than they are, but finding the opportunity hidden within every obstacle. Every difficult person becomes your personal trainer for emotional resilience. So when someone shows you a red flag, don't just see a warning sign. See a training opportunity. See a chance to practice unconditional self-respect. See a masterclass in emotional intelligence that no university could ever provide. The ancient Stoics knew that we cannot control what others do to us, but we have complete control over what we do with what they do to us. And that, my friend, is where true power lies. You're crazy. That never happened. You're remembering it wrong. These words have the power to make you question your own sanity. This is gaslighting, the systematic erosion of your trust in your own perception of reality. Most people see gaslighting as pure destruction. But here's the Stoic paradox. The person trying to convince you that your reality isn't real is actually forcing you to know yourself at the deepest possible level. When someone constantly questions your memory, your feelings, your experiences, you're forced to develop an unshakable foundation of self-knowledge. You learn to document. You learn to trust your inner voice above all external noise. Steve Jobs was famously gaslighted by his own board of directors. They convinced him he was the problem, that his vision was wrong, that he should step down from the company he built. But this forced rejection became his greatest teacher. When Jobs returned to Apple, he was no longer the young entrepreneur who could be swayed by others' opinions. He had been forged in the fire of rejection. He knew exactly who he was and what he stood for. The gaslighting had backfired. It made him unshakable. Here are 3 Stoic practices that transform gaslighting into strength. First, the daily reality check. Every evening, write down 3 things you know to be absolutely true about your day. Not opinions, not interpretations, facts. Second, practice the dichotomy of control. When someone tries to gaslight you, immediately ask, can I control their behavior? No. Can I control my response? Yes. This simple question cuts through all manipulation. Third, the objective reality check. Look yourself in the eye and ask, what do I know to be true, regardless of what anyone else says? Your inner knowing is your fortress. No one can breach it without your permission. But here's the crucial warning. There's a difference between building resilience and accepting abuse. The Stoic uses difficult people as training, but never as permanent residents. You practice with the storm, but you don't live in it. When you truly know yourself, when you've built an unshakable foundation of self-trust, something beautiful happens. The gaslighter loses all power over you. Not because you fight them, but because you've become immune to their manipulation. I need some space tonight. 3 simple words that should be respected in any healthy relationship. But watch what happens when you set a boundary with someone who doesn't respect you. The reaction tells you everything you need to know. The Stoics understood that boundaries aren't walls to keep people out. They're bridges that show people how to love you properly. When someone violates your boundaries, they're not just disrespecting your limits. They're giving you invaluable information about their character. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison, where guards constantly tried to break his spirit, violate his dignity, and cross every possible boundary. But each violation only made him more determined to maintain his inner freedom. Every time a guard tried to humiliate him, Mandela would silently reaffirm his own dignity. Every time they tried to break his routine, he would create new rituals of self-respect. The external pressure was forging an internal diamond. Here's the boundary paradox. The person who most violates your boundaries is actually your greatest teacher in learning to set them. They show you exactly where you need to draw the line and exactly how to defend it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Every boundary violation is an outside event. Your response is where your power lies. It's all your fault. You made me do this. If you hadn't said that, I wouldn't have reacted this way. The victim complex is perhaps the most insidious relationship dynamic because it disguises manipulation as vulnerability. But here's the Stoic insight. Living with someone who refuses to take responsibility for anything is actually training you to take responsibility for everything within your control. They become your mirror, showing you exactly who you don't want to become. When someone constantly blames external circumstances for their problems, they're actually teaching you the most valuable lesson in personal development: radical responsibility. You learn to own your choices, your reactions, your growth. Ryan Holiday, modern Stoic author, faced massive criticism when his book was accused of plagiarism. Instead of playing victim, he took radical responsibility. He examined every criticism, improved his processes, and became a better writer. The victim says, "Why is this happening to me?" The Stoic asks, "What is this teaching me?" One question keeps you trapped in powerlessness. The other sets you free to grow. Here are 4 Stoic practices to develop an anti-victim mindset. First, morning obstacle meditation. Each morning, visualize 3 challenges you might face today and how you'll respond with strength and wisdom. "I'll be there in 10 minutes. 2 hours later, she's still not there. Time disrespect isn't just about being late. It's about showing someone that their most precious, non-renewable resource means nothing to you. But here's the Stoic paradox. Someone who wastes your time is actually teaching you to value it properly. Every minute you spend waiting for someone who doesn't respect your schedule is a minute you learn to protect your time more fiercely. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." The person who consistently disrespects your time is giving you a masterclass in time management by showing you exactly what not to accept. Tim Cook learned this lesson early in his career. After being kept waiting by people who didn't value his time, he developed a strict policy. If someone is more than 15 minutes late without communication, the meeting is over. This wasn't rudeness, it was self-respect. I got the promotion. That's nice. The emotional neglect isn't dramatic. It's the slow drip of indifference that makes you question whether your feelings, your achievements, your very existence matters to this person. But here's the Stoic insight. The person who can't celebrate your victories is actually pushing you toward the most important relationship you'll ever have, the one with yourself. They're forcing you to become your own source of validation. Marcus Aurelius built what Stoics call the inner citadel, a fortress of self-worth that no external person could breach. Every time someone fails to give you the emotional support you need, you're forced to build that citadel stronger. Here are 3 Stoic exercises for building internal validation. First, self-compassion meditation. Each morning, spend 5 minutes treating yourself with the same kindness you'd show a good friend. Some things are within our power, while others are not. Epictetus knew that wisdom lies not just in enduring difficulty, but in knowing when you've learned all you can from a situation. There's a crucial difference between using difficulty as a gymnasium for your character and allowing yourself to be destroyed by it. The Stoic stays in the storm to learn, but leaves before the storm breaks them. Here's the Stoic decision matrix. Ask yourself 3 questions. First, am I still learning and growing from this situation, or am I just surviving it? Growth has purpose. Survival without growth is just slow destruction. Sometimes the greatest lesson is learning when to walk away. The Stoic doesn't stay in harmful situations out of stubbornness. They leave when they've extracted all the wisdom they can from the experience. This might be the most controversial thing I'll say in this entire video. You should thank your toxic partner, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve the freedom that comes with gratitude. Thank you for showing me my strength. Thank you for teaching me my worth. Thank you for forcing me to build the unshakable foundation I never knew I needed. This isn't about them. It's about you claiming your power. The person who hurt you the most, taught you the most about your own resilience. They didn't mean to, but they gave you the greatest gift possible. They showed you that you're stronger than you ever imagined. So here's your challenge. Look at the most difficult person in your life right now and ask yourself, what is this person teaching me about my own strength? What skills am I developing that I never would have learned in an easy relationship? If this video has changed how you see relationships, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear this message. And subscribe, because we're just getting started on this journey of turning life's obstacles into your greatest strengths. Remember, you're not a victim of your circumstances. You're a student of life, and every difficult person is just another teacher in disguise. The question isn't whether you'll face challenges, it's whether you'll let them make you stronger.